Hello. Thank you for Zooming. Thank you for being on the Facebook audience. Welcome everyone. Well Zooming, well Facebooking. Can't quite say welcome. I don't know whether you're coming or I'm coming. We're meeting somewhere in the virtual world. So thank you for joining us on the Tibetan Buddhist Society of Canberra's regular Tuesday night teachings on Buddhist philosophy. So what a wonderful way to spend a little bit of time each week to refresh our mind and the body and the thoughts and look at the world and to which we belong and how much insecurity, fear and problems that the world is completely cornered by. So we're very fortunate to be living in very peaceful environment as long as we observe the safety precautions. And so, but these teachings are also primarily for how to practice safety. We call refuge in Buddhism. People who have refuge in Dharma and the Buddha and the Sangha, we call these three things, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, they usually stay safe. Not only as a place, but mainly as an attitude with which they do not get muddled up. They do not think it's the people or what do they do. They no longer think like that because they have refuge, They have refuge. They are gold card members. They have refuge. They can get quick access to that, and they don't have to wait for long queues. They have refuge in the Triple Gem. So that's why we acknowledge at the very beginning our profound devotion and gratitude to the enlightenment of the Buddha and his wisdom teaching and amazing galaxies of generations of Sangha that has kept and brought these teachings into our life. So no words can express that, but we do that by reciting this formula called refuge. And we make a commitment to practice those by renewing our commitment to practice altruism. Because when we are in refuge, we are more likely to practice altruism. When we have no refuge, we practice selfishness. So selfishness is the one that exposes us to all the problems and suffering. Not bad people, not bad actions of other people. Our own selfishness actually exposes us to all the problems and difficulties. We never wanted them. We previously thought they came from others. That's because we didn't have altruism. But when you have heard and took a liberty to embrace altruism, you begin to shift your attitude, thinking it's my lack of selflessness that is making myself to be so miserable. But if I have the altruism, the no problem is caused by anyone but one's own self-centeredness. So one makes a commitment to contain and tame this self-centeredness. And the Dharma is the medicine. That's why we have refuge. So if you have this, you will practice the loving kindness in all situations. Not just because people are nice to you, you practice loving. Even people are exactly opposite, you have to practice loving kindness. People blunder, people make mistakes. You have to practice loving kindness. That's Buddhism. Expecting other to be perfect. If not, you become so rebellious and can't become disappointed. That's not Buddhism. That definitely is not Buddhism. I don't know what it is that people tend to think it is. That's not recommended in Buddhism. Why? If those who have refuge, maybe those people who are Buddhists but have no refuge can do that. Maybe they do that. If those who have refuge, they have some cover. And they're covered by the refuge, so they don't carry on. They don't make it a drama because they have people with difficulties or problems or whatever. They practice kindness, they practice tolerance, they practice compassion, they practice equanimity, they practice forgiveness. So these four immeasurables are also renewal of commitment to practice this. So I'll say those at the very beginning. I'm sure quite a few of you, as regulars, you will know how to join in these prayers. So let's do that. Ho Yinda Buddha Dharma Sangha Adere Fyuja Ladama Bavaja Adyevedala Ajare Vada Hudruvis Enda Buddha Dharma Sangha Adere Fyuja Ladama Bavaja Adyevedala Ajare Vada Hudruvis Enda Buddha da dhamma sangha ajere yajah la jama bhavacha ajeve handala ajare vada ajave Mehobiz happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never run the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell equanimity, free from judgment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, and those near and far. Namo Yalaya Tadan Ludan Jinka Chukun Tata Mi Gananda and Rogunji Dana Jezaba Tamje Gudu Daki Chudan, the Mazu Jimmy Shira Baraja, Majimanganam Gungo when you Suzurari, to Sunja Yonla Janzalo, Engade, Para Engade, Para Sa Engade, Bodhisattva, Engade, Engade, Para Engade, Para Sa Engade, Bodhisattva, Engade, Engade, Para Engade, Para Sangade 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 Bodhisattva, Engade, Parangade, Parangade, Parasangade, Bodhisattva, Angade, Angade, 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 Parangade, Parasangade, Bodhisattva, Namo Lama La Janzala, Sanje La Janzala, Chola Janzala, Gindi La Jan, Imjime Jire Jibara de Jimala Janzala, Jena La Janzala, Tudane Vale, and Daza Gedime, Tinda the River Kurji, Chitarangula, and Bojin, Imjime Jire Jibara de Jimada, Samo Ila, Sanjin, say Kadan Jiva, Tudane Valadin, do the Jenlas of Chen, Dobatation, the Dagajan, Imjime Jire Jibara de Jimada, Samo Ila, Sanjin, say Kadan Jiva, Tudane Valadin, Dankodan Jiva, Damba Jiva, Banjamin, Jiva, Chodon, Papa Gonjas, Gaya, and Betadan, you do cheer, Dobri, using memory, Radu, Jurgen, Amala, Janzala, Zanila, Janzala, Jala, Janzala, Gandila, Janzala, Imjima, Jira, Jibara, Jimala, Janz, Janala, Janza, Done, Valadin, and Daza, get them at the end of the river, the Strangla, and Bajin, Imjima, Jira, Jibara, the Jimada, some Hilasing. Sekadan Jiva to Don, Valadin, and do the Jala Soba, Sharon, Dovadation, the Dagi, Imjima, Jira, Jibara, the Jimada, some Hilasing, Sekadan Jiva to Don, Valan, Dan Kordan Jiva, Tamba, Chudu, Banjamin, Jordan, Papa Gonjasum, Yakaya, and Betadan, you do share and double use and Mary, Shevra, Rado, Sheva, Namala, Mala, Janzala, Zanjala, Janzala, Jala, Janzala, Ganila, Imjima, Jira, Jibara, the Jamala, Janzala, Janala, Janza, to Don, Valadin, and Daza, get them at the end of the river, Imjima.
Jimajira Jabaro, Jim Hilas and Zegadan Judo Nevada, do the jealous of a shield of taking the dog, Jimajira Jabaro, and some Hilas and Zegadan Judo Nevada, Dangotan Jivata Chidu Benjamin, Baba Gonjas and Jakay, and Betadani, the chair and Operation Jevra, the Jevra, Tadan Jadon, Dobon, teaching one, Juana, some general. Do you learn them those of his own Jubala Chedanangi, so about the Jabadam Jaganya, and said so. So, everybody, thank you for joining and tuning in to listen to the wisdom of the Shantideva, a celebrated Buddhist monk in India whose writing has strolled the hearts and minds for the last, 1,200 years, ever since his book was first printed in India and then translated in many countries, particularly in Tibet, and it has taken a great hold. And so what a wonderful way to read his works. So because his works concerns with how to practice Dharma, really. How to practice Dharma by listening, reading, contemplating, and changing our thought and attitudes, and most importantly, try to see what changes we can bring within our attitudes and thoughts. And he does it very well in his carefully written chapters in the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. The very cause of happiness and true liberation comes from the Buddha Dharma. Buddha Dharma is very, very rare, very, very. Sentient beings want happiness, do not desire problems, but they find the latter even more. No matter how much they don't want suffering, they tend to get just that. No matter how much they want to be happy and peaceful, and they just don't seem to get much of it. And that is because they just are ignorant. They know how to fly, to go to the moon or even Mars. They know how to listen, create listening devices of other people, but they don't know how to see, listen, and see their own mind at work. So this imperception, this ignorance, this kind of hidden phenomena, mind is such a hidden phenomena, not knowing what it is. It's just nobody teaches what is mind. And Buddha Dharma, teachings of the Buddha, is revolutionary, and not only at his time, but even in 21st century when people have mastered, learned so much like rocket science and do so much technological advances, but still doesn't know the workings of the mind. But those who understand the Dharma will greatly be boosted of the fitness to practice kindness and tolerance and nonviolence, compassion, and never resort to practice of perfectionism, trying to see someone perfect to lead you, to teach you, to guide you, or to save your trouble by worshipping them, by following them. That's not Buddhism, Buddha himself never promoted you becoming following of the Buddha. Buddha himself passed away so that he doesn't remain there, someone to follow to. But he said, my teachings are the very thing that you should follow. The teachings are best understood by listening and studying. So that's our task. So we are studying this very precious chapter called How to Guard Your Mind. This is the 5th chapter. And we've been reading through each of the verse as much as we could each night. And tonight is the 7th lesson. 7th lesson we're going to read from where we left last week. It is all about because this is about how to guard and train your mind. It's more like subjectively knowing what am I doing. That may be inappropriate. That may be not culturally correct. That might be, may not be received very well. May be offensive to other people, or maybe even to myself later on. So that kind of mindfulness. We left last week on finish at the verse number 91. We're talking about how the mindful person do not litter. Do not throw pieces of paper or wood or twigs or you don't throw your sputum wherever, and you don't excrete or urinate anywhere like that. Of course, we have come a long way since then. Some parts of the world still are like that. People are littering everything anywhere, and they nobody cleans them, and there's no litter boxes, and everybody just eats a banana and throw it away or throw pieces of paper everywhere. Many of the 200 countries, high number of them are still littering everywhere, and that's what they make so unhygienic and easy to catch diseases. So, and the world has come a long way as far as sanitation and hygiene is concerned. So they definitely have heeded to Shantideva's writing there. So now we're going to start on verse number 92 tonight. Kadang nene samija. So this is he says, don't eat while with open mouth or with full mouth. So she's talking about the mindfulness of eating. It's talking about table manners. Or even if you're not at the table, when you eat, you should not eat with your mouth wide open and making a lot of noise while eating, where you bite it or where you slurp or where you do this. So don't do that. So this is talking about it is you act as though you've been so hungry. Even you're hungry, you should eat so quietly and peacefully and mindfully. You should not be eating as if you're so hungry and you're starving to death type of thing. Why you have to be like that? You have no time when you eat. That is graceful. I heard some Buddhist teachers like Thich Nhat Hanh recommend people to take one morsel of food and munch at least 19 times before you swallow. So it's just a moderate size, not a big piece of thing in your mouth, but moderate size of food, and then bite them and chew them mindfully, not just for the sake of digestion, but that what you're eating is a result of many creatures' hard work. There's a handful of rice may have caused the death and killing of just as that much insects all along the process of production of those grains of rice. So it's not just outwardly your eating manner looks good on other people, but as you become mindful of how you eat by not opening your mouth and not drinking, slurping, but while you drink, chewing and munching the food or drinking, you should be mindfully, gracefully see these things, food, as a gift of many labor of many sentient beings, animals included, humans included, farmers included. So kadanene samija gangbakyang de mindukjing. Gangbakyang de you shouldn't be sitting carelessly with your legs everywhere and not dressed properly and revealing yourself and this sort of thing. And quite a lot of people do that in culturally. They think they wear shorts everywhere and the legs everywhere. They put the feet on the table and like that. So on coffee table and even though it's their place, but it's maybe it's a very bit disrespectful to those around, or even to the table. There's a place where you put food and maybe some prayer books and things like that. So you shouldn't be have your feet everywhere. Stretching your feet. So don't stretch your feet away, particularly in front of people. So you should have some kind of discipline how you sit beautifully and tucked away somewhere. Lakbanyam briminyeo means you should not you should not rudely rub your hands. Some people always cracking the knuckles, or making noise, or picking cutting their nails in front of people, or whatever it is. So they should not rudely rub their hands in front of other people. So that's on top of your, whether it's on couch or your seat or a chair or whatever. There is a proper manner that you should sit. Particularly in front of some people, you can't have your leg kind of sort of stretching everywhere. There's other people and so on. You should mindfully sit in a very respectful manner. This is because the subject is how to guard your mind. It's how to guard your mind, and the one who guard his mind also guard where he eat. He knows where he should sit and how he should eat. Some people eating and then phoning and receiving phone and making so much noisy. Some cultures are such a noisy eaters. You wouldn't believe that. Those hawkers in Southeast Asia, so you were noisiest place. You thought they were eating, but they're all so noisy. Some places when you have in the West is where they're observing most of these teachings. I think they have. At some big dinners, there were 300 people eating, but they're all in the table, they're all with the knife. You might hear a little bit of noises, a little bit of the knives, but everybody's really, sitting very, very quietly, because they all came to honor for something. They all came to listen to a lecture or talk or a commemoration, and everybody's so well mannered. So that's what it's talking about. One should be mindful. One should be mindful to be in. So you shouldn't gobble up the food so quickly. People have not even started sitting down and eating food, and you have already gobbled up, and you're looking for second. You're going for second when somebody didn't even have the first. Yeah, see, that kind of thing. So of course, if you are on your own, maybe nobody hears you're gobbling up or you're making noise. That's quite a different thing. So here Shantideva was talking about how to be considerate. How to be considerate in front of people. You shouldn't gobble up foods. You don't stretch your legs everywhere. You don't sort of crack your knuckles and make noise, and looks quite sort of inappropriate in front of people. Yeah. So on your horse or on your mount, like horse or bed or chairs, you should not sit on the same couch as a woman. They say other women here probably means that, particularly of course the monastics, they usually, in some cultures, even the woman wouldn't sit with the monk because out of respect anyway, and monk also should not sit with the woman out of self-importance, but just try to sit somewhere more appropriate. They say don't share a seat with the woman. Particularly Shantideva is probably here addressing to monastics, because he's a monk, and so don't ride on the same horse with you and a woman, or don't sit on the couch with a woman, particularly women of the other women, means other people's daughters or mother or whatever it is. So you should have a reasonable degree of distance, I suppose. So this is strictly Shantideva talking. Shantideva talking as a monastic. Because this will make people lose your faith. This is so inappropriate, so impolite, so inappropriate to be used sitting so close to some woman you really don't know. So it become cause of people losing faith in you. So whatever it is that other people thinks not highly of, get to know them. First try to witness and ask other people whether this way is manner will be appropriate or not. If they shun or they discourage you to go with a woman or sit on the same couch as a woman or like that, if society looks with some suspicion or disrespect, which some society do, then you should avoid that. You should mindfully not do that. But definitely for a monastic, it's very important. When a monastic is alone with the woman traveling, it also looks very suspicious. People will question, why is the monk is traveling on his own. That's why in Tibetan Buddhism we have good protection of all the high lamas. They always got a couple of monks always accompanying him wherever he goes. He never goes on their own. So when the lamas and monks, monastics are traveling on their own, and that's usually beginning of a problem, because they may be disregarding their monastic vows that they shouldn't do that. And particularly going to a very expensive restaurant and places very late in the evening and things like that. It looks quite odd because when you read in the monastic rules, they're not even supposed to eat after midday, but they are seen to be going out with people. So even lay people should not invite the monastics out on their own. So this Shantideva's advice is probably very, very pertinent for everyone, because they have no intention, but they thought they were being generous or something. But it's just a little unscrupulous conduct like that can make people so volatile. So that's why Shantideva is saying that one should not accompany, go alone with a woman, or share seat or chair or car or something like that with the others, because it will become cause of controversy, cause of people losing faith. And so whatever society treat them to be not acceptable, you should abandon them. If what you have seen, or ask people whether it's perceived okay or not, I suppose this is not just for monastic, but even for laymen or laywomen. Sometimes people really pushing. They want to come with you, or they want to take you, or what is it all about? What is it all about? So that's why, if you can help someone, you can help someone, but don't necessarily go somewhere on your own with them, because it can be perceived to be inappropriate. People are people. People have perception. And you may not like yourself to be perceived by people as going with someone unless it's very, very important. So you have to check your intention and purpose. Sometimes you could be doing something with other people because it's somewhere appropriate and timing and all of that, and you are very scrupulous. That might be okay. But Shantideva is a very scrupulous monk. I would say very fundamentalist monk. And he himself not only did this, succeeded to live and become realized as a monk, because by remaining very, very mindful to know where to go, who to go with, and where to sit, who not to sit with, and how do you behave in front of people, and things like that. Sometimes people culturally get it wrong. I can share this. His Holiness was saying, one time he was sitting in an airplane or something, and in first class, when he saw somebody, a woman was sitting on the other aisle, and he looked at her, and she looked at him. His Holiness smiled, and she was really unimpressed with the smile. She didn't like it. So His Holiness said he also stopped looking at her. because he's always such a, he couldn't be caught cheeky, he could be, but of course he didn't anything mean, but he said, somebody is really like that, Of course he had no intention anything, but he some people just think it's very odd that monk looks at you at all, let alone smile, Why are you smiling? What is the intention, type of thing? So that's why if the society treats those things with the disrespectfully, you should know that, you should think about it, and practice restraint from doing that. Tondandi de pawachas, sormudani mijate. So sormudani mijate. This is a cultural thing, really. Tibetans do quite a lot of, do not wave hands and with uncouth gestures. Some Tibetans quite do that, like this all the time. We don't realize how rude it is. Do you think it's rude? Yeah. Somebody doing this, I think it's rude, isn't it? So Tibetans don't know it's rude. The High Lamas or some monks, when they just do this all the time. But I think it looks very, very dictatorial maybe. So Modane Mijate, of course, Shantideva says do not wave your arms to signal. So maybe you have to do something. You have to do something, and instead of waving hands or doing some hand gestures or something like that. But if you do need to show some gestures, so if you wanted to show a way, you should show both hands respectfully with your right hands. If you should show respectfully with your right hands, not rudely pointing the fingers, not rudely pointing your fingers, but rather with a very respectful gesture. You should show, maybe even when you show something, you should always show with two hands. If not possible, just with the right hand, like whole hand like this, not just doing point fingers. Even say you're going to show some, if somebody asks you the road or direction, you should show in a gesture that looks very, very polite and respectful, and not sort of unwillingly or rudely or something like that. It could be amazing. Where you show the gesture, how you show the way, and how you spoke, that can make the person feel so happy. The way you showed the way, where you gesture, we talk about mudras, we talk about rude gestures. Basically, what Shantideva was saying, don't show rude gestures. Show good gesture, opposite of the rude. It's good gesture. Show good, respectful gesture, even when you are showing the road to someone who's asking you how to go, how to find that way. Yeah, you should not make the hand move all over the place, you don't make them move the hand too much, that becomes too ostentatious, you can make a small wave movement of the hand that is either noticeable by them looking at your hand, or the little maybe you might tap on the door, or you don't sort of knock the door too hard. You can just tap the door or tap the chair or whatever. So that is really noticeable for other person, but not too disruptive, not too sort of not too aggressive or disruptive and too noisily, but do things a little bit more sort of a gentle tap or a little whistle or little sort of whatever it is that actually signals them that you want their attention for whatever the case might be. So this is all about how mindful can we do. Maybe pass a small positive notes, hi, can I have your attention or something like that? Please, may I have your attention? It's good, isn't it? Can you come over here? And it looks like a little bit, why? Right? May I have your attention? The person says, yeah, of course, what is it? But you say, can you come over here? You can say that, but sometimes it sounds a little bit too kind of commanding. You're just you're just giving some order, or as you can order things. So you have to ask, I have noticed this. I'm not very good at it, because my kids, when I go, sometimes we go to the restaurant, we need a water or something. I snap the finger like this, and they say, "Dad, don't do that." That's really good. I think so in some cultures you don't do that. In Tibetan cultures you snap the fingers, and they think it's polite or something. But some culturally you don't do that. I don't know what, maybe have a little gentle wave and smile or something like that. But if you make it too noisy, too kind of, as if you are the only one they need to pay attention to, it looks very, very unmindful, unguarded. You look so selfish. You look so, why I want here? Why you're not at my table type of thing. I don't think Shantideva was talking about waiting on the table so much. But he's definitely saying you can use your hand gesture, but not very, very noisily. He said you can snap the finger and make some signals that is culturally correct. Shendo Madam Parnjuro. If you do anything other than that, it would be offensive. It will be offensive, and you should avoid. So you should know culturally correct way of calling someone's attention. That's why like in Tibetans, when they come to the West, or in some place, they just go in people's room like that without even knocking the door. So mainly because they're born in tent or something, because they've never seen doors. Secondly, when they want to go in some, they just go in. They should knock a door. In the West, the people are brought up privacy so highly respected. People won't just barge into your room like that. They will deliberately have a gentle knock on the door, and before they can come in, even if they do, they just say, "May I come in?" or "Are you free to?" and like that. I think those sort of things can be really gentle, very, very nice. This kind of, they call TLC, tender loving care. If you did that, even to your, even someone who you want to really help, seek some help from, but the way you ask it makes the person really wanting to help. And the same goes with the, even they are receptionists, even they are waiters, even they are cleaners on the road or whatever. They also should be respected. They should also be respected or acknowledged. I remember going to New Zealand when there's a customs lady. She wanted to search me all over, and I said okay. Because I firstly had nothing much. Secondly, because that's her job. And where else? And once she finished the thing, and she really helped me to pack everything, I said, thank you very much. Not that I was that polite, I wouldn't say. It was just the right thing to say. And she was so moved. She says, nobody thanked me. Because she has to ask everybody to open the bag, and when they do, and she said, people don't thank her. So I think small things like that can, if we know that small, and they say small is beautiful, they call it. Small is beautiful, doing small things like that, Even if you made a mistake and people are upset, the way you apologize and how early you apologize, it's very important, particularly if you didn't know you did anything wrong. But if people are saying that you did, then just quickly acknowledge that. It's just put the misery out of the way, You just no point arguing that you didn't do, what did I do, all that kind of toing and froing, this very combatant, trying to be perfect always, and like that. Always accept that you are unsatisfactory. If somebody
particularly complains. It's really Buddhist thing to accept your unsatisfactoriness, because we live in an unsatisfactory world, and if you're mindful, it's good to notice, acknowledge your on your own imperfections, isn't it? It's a they say that accept your flaws, witness your flaws. Don't try to judge others unless you want to be judged. So if you acknowledge your mistakes, even if you don't know what it is all about, but somebody says you did, you just put them out of misery by saying, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was doing, obviously it's offended them, whatever the case might be, just for the sake of that. And you can see how short-lived most problems are, at least to you. How shorter the problem is to them is totally our goodness. So Shantideva is just simply trying to teach us mindfulness, how to be tender, loving, and caring for each other. He's not talking about some you have to sacrifice your head or hand like that. He's just slowly saying, slowly learn to practice small, appropriate, kind language, gestures, and things like that. And it is amazing in terms of like that. Now this is about how to sleep. And this is very good because people don't know how to sleep. Lie down to sleep with posture and direction of the Buddha. So that means the posture of the Buddha is a reclining posture. Buddha reclined on the right side. So he put his right hands under his chin, and he stretched the two legs one on top of another, and then he put his pillow on under the right side, but make sure the pillow preferably is on the north side, and you're sleeping towards the west, and your back is east, your feet is to the south. So that's the direction, politely. The Buddha's, if you go to Kushinaga, you will see the reclining Buddha passed away into Nirvana. Not only did the Buddha pass away there in that posture, but every night he slept, he always slept preferably in that position. And the reason for that is that each of these four directions, the west is in Tibetan called Nub. Nub means set. It's the time where the sun set. So when you're sleeping, the day has set. And then when you put your head to the north is Chang. Chang means purify. Yeah, Chang means purify. And east is Shar. Shar means rise. So rise. That's the direction where the sun rises from. And Lo usually is south. Tibetan word for Lo. Their death rituals are usually named after south, so southern door or something like that. So that also means ending of something. So the place yourself in that direction, and the posture is on the right. Put your hand under the right chin, and sometimes they say you visualize a white dot on your throat. White dot on your throat, and then don't entertain the day's thoughts that think that all things of the day has come to finish, everything like a mirage, and everything is but no longer is anymore. And so you so like the Buddha passed away in Nirvana, you also lie in that direction. Yeah, you should. means the west is the direction where everybody will desire to go, because everybody wanted to go to the Amitabharam. Amitabharam is on the west. Sleep facing toward the direction of desire. Why is called the west direction of desire? According to Vajrayana point of view, and each of the 5 Buddhas have 5 positions, Buddhas of the 5 points, the center, east, west, north. So the Buddha of the west is Amitabha. Amitabha is purified form of desire. So therefore, facing west is you are actually transcending your desire. Transcending your desire, and a whole day you've been working, but you've been looking forward, you've been wanting to sleep well, So that's when you get to sleep is when the night falls. And so that's the direction of desire. And so when purified form of desire becomes the wisdom of discrimination. So that's why it's called cha. You should sleep facing towards the direction of to the direction of the desire, At first, Nyawarcha, Shishin Yurdu Dangsemla, Toman Yudu Ngebrajar. And at first, with clear resolve, decide that you will swift to rise again. So, say tomorrow at 4:30 in the morning, if you were going to rise up, you just go to bed with a strong resolve that I'm going to rise 4:30 in the morning. You have those alarm clocks for a reason, not just to tell you the cake is ready or dinner is ready, but time for you to rise up from the sleep is, because if you rise early in the morning, as you went to bed with such a grace, like the Buddha reclining, likewise you too rise early in the morning. So don't make a mind in the night what time you're going to get up. Don't say, I have no work tomorrow, I'll sleep in. That's really dangerous. A practitioner has to have bodhicitta. You have to practice your practices. And you have to renew your bodhicitta, you have to renew your bodhisattva vows, you have certain things to do for yourself, for your health, various chores for people, something like that, whatever the things you have, what you have on early morning, tomorrow morning, Wednesday, something like that, So you should project your mind in the night. First resolve, they say, you should, means you should, right at the very beginning, at the outside, you make sure when you're going to rise up. With the intention to rise up. With the very introspection and mindfulness when to rise up. With that resolve, you should make sure that you do rise up at that particular time. So it's very, very because people who are successful are usually disciplined when they go to bed, and also successful because when they want to get up in the morning. See, Shantideva is teaching us manners, how to get up. If you have a commitment to get to work at 6 or something, 9 or whatever, you should get up early. Don't rush and with great stress and forgetting this, forgetting that. You didn't get a decent breakfast. You didn't take a shower, and you're wearing the shirt inside out. Some people like that is, of course, it doesn't look very good, is it? So you should be mindful of your timing, when to go to bed, how to go to bed, and with what resolve to get up in the morning. In the Shantideva's book, it's like how to live, Very good to have discipline. Somebody helps us to discipline ourselves so that we are not so untogether, disorganized. In the monastery, they beat the gong, and about 5 o'clock, they beat the gong and wake up the whole town. You can't say that's a noise pollution. They will beat the gong in India, Nepal. If the Muslims are not rising up, the Hindus will. If Hindus not, the monastery will gong. You go and live in Bodhanath, then you will see how make sure that everybody rise on time. The dogs, the chicken, the cocks, the roosters, and if not, I haven't seen any Muslim mosque in Bodhanath yet. But in Bodh Gaya, the Muslims wake you up before the Buddhists beat the gongs, So it's good to make a time when you're going to get up, night before. So it means those people who go to bed early, like he saw the Dalai Lama, he doesn't do any engagement in the evenings because he
he, as a very devoted practitioner, he does all things during the day, and then he goes to bed fairly early. So let's say 8 o'clock, and His Holiness gets up at least by 3 o'clock. You wouldn't believe. He would have to do at least 4 or 5 hours of practice, meditation, recitation, reflection, and then by the time when he finished breakfast, he's basically ready to serve his other sentient being. The Bodhisattva cannot be sleeping in and snoring all the time. How can you do that? Bodhisattvas have things to do. For him, every hour is a time that is for the benefit of sentient beings. So therefore, one should have the kind of discipline. Time management is a good discipline, isn't it? Time management. I'm sure some people who have succeeded even in the mundane life, it's largely came from their self-discipline to go to college or go to work on time and get there a little bit earlier than your boss, and also it's good to greet your boss, and good to be arrived there, not late, and things like that. These are the causes of quite a lot of people's success, is because they've been very punctual, they've been very, 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 very considerate, and they've been all very reliable, and they say, I will do this, I'll do that, but when next time when you do, they haven't done that, they haven't done that, they haven't done that. They said they will do this, they haven't done anything. So what's the point of it? People can't count on you anymore, because then they will start losing. They know that you can't count on them, because you have hardly done anything on time that you have said. And that can make you depressed, because people don't count on you. They don't respect you. Why? Because they can't treat you as you will do things that you said you will do, because they have been let down quite a few times. So therefore, and if you feel miserable, it's because you haven't been responsible. So we have to therefore heed to Shantideva and try to go to bed early, and therefore have commitment when to rise up, and so if you have that, then Chanju Sempe Chopada Tsemepane Sungbales, then Bodhisattvas have many conduct, many immeasurable conduct. Bodhisattvas have many commitment. Bodhisattvas' acts are boundless. The Bodhisattvas have many commitment. So they have to remember the Bodhisattva vows. They have to review the Bodhisattva vows. They have to renew the bodhicitta at least 3 times during the day, 3 times a night, and same goes with the refuge, and same goes with some other practices they have to review, because we are so forgetful. So therefore, if you have any of those timer, and if you have those mind, the beepers and hummers, and use those watches to tell you what you have on what time, and so on, and so that you do not let someone down, and if you let them down, then you also down. You become depressed because you have failed them, you didn't do them, so on. But don't take up too many things that you can't do. But those you do take up. So when you say Bodhisattvas act, don't mean the Bodhisattvas are somebody else, We all are bodhisattvas. If you have taken bodhicitta teachings and have made a commitment to practice, you are a bodhisattva. Mahayana is very, very equal opportunity. Everybody is bodhisattva. If you don't take up the bodhisattva challenge, then you don't do the bodhisattva. If you take the bodhisattva challenge, which is like Shantideva's whole 10th chapter, is so that he offers people how to lead the life of bodhisattva by being punctual, by being reliable, by being considerate to others. And then as a result of this, you will see the person, your son or daughter or mother or father, they really know you will do if you say you will do. It brings so much, takes a lot of stress out of the person, not having to worry whether you've done or not, because they have seen you. When you say you will do it. If you have said you will do and you haven't done that to somebody, and they repeatedly they haven't done, so that all they remember is what you haven't done, and then then they become very reactive, like children, very, very reactive, because they haven't got anything to show by their own dint, because they haven't been accountable to themselves to do, then they couldn't develop what they call self-confidence, what they call self-esteem, you know. If you have to, therefore, be accountable to yourself, because you have a bodhisattva vow. You know, don't expect other people to act like bodhisattvas, as you have no responsibility to take bodhisattva. Everybody repeated the bodhisattva vow together, you know. So who has more responsibility than you, you know? So we have to, his bodhisattva acts are boundless, you know. So therefore, as the teaching says, bodhisattva acts are boundless, because you have made vow to never forget bodhicitta, and you have made vow to actualize the bodhicitta in form of actions, you know. So that's a bodhisattva should not. Bodhisattvas have discipline, and even if somebody did something wrong, but bodhisattvas should not criticize them. Bodhisattvas should not think that there's nothing like that has happened, and act as though so intolerantly, and then thinks that that's the worst thing that had happened in the world, and then tell everybody how bad he is. Bodhisattva have responsibility of not smear campaigning to anybody. Bodhisattva should try to support this person, try to help them where they fell, and don't trample on them because they fell in front of you. Bodhisattva's conduct is not be intolerant and unkind to sentient beings who have problems and who have mistakes. We have to be kind. They are also sentient beings. You know, maybe you expect more of them than of yourself, but they are still sentient beings. The bodhisattvas are trainee bodhisattvas. These are not bodhisattvas who have realized high bhumis. These are bodhisattvas that are trainee bodhisattvas. Trainee bodhisattvas are all on the path of accumulation. You know, even path of accumulation got the lesser path of accumulation, medium path of accumulation, and advanced path of accumulation. So give them a break. You know, somebody is not as good as you expect, you know. Don't be so bad-mouthed to say, he let me down, or they let me down, and we expect them to behave better than that. Yeah, but sure, you have expect them, but your high expectation disappoints you rather than their actual ability to do something. You know, you have no idea what karma and stress they have. You know, so you have to be kind to other bodhisattvas. You know, be kind to other. If you have a bodhisattva, you have to be kind to other people. You have to be tolerant to other people. You know, you cannot tolerate anybody's karma and mistakes. Then you are not bodhisattva. See, you are completely transgressing your bodhisattva by not being able to be gentle to other sentient beings who are also in a same boat, so to speak. So bodhisattvas have activities, physical activities, verbal activities, mental activities. Don't always talk about expecting what other people do. Mind your own actions, you know, because they are boundless things you as a trainee bodhisattva should do, you know. It's very important that even if there are quite a lot of people arguing against each other about something, but you have a bodhisattva vow too, so that you don't take sides over this and side against that, and then think that you have some great power to judge somebody, that you can say this is bad, this is good. Sure, I mean, how long is a good, and how long is bad? You know. You know, is it your judgment that will dictate here? So bodhisattvas have the conduct to be tolerant to difficult sentient beings, to be compassionate to difficult sentient beings, you know. And don't sort of idealize other people that you yourself have no way of even attempting to do that. So bodhisattva acts are boundless, and the teaching says. So sometimes you have to, even if somebody blames you, sometimes you just don't retaliate, you know, even though you're not entirely responsible, but just accept it. Why? Because that's what Bodhisattva teaching says. Accept the blames of others because it's good for your ego. Good for your ego, so that you you may see the demerits of self-importance when somebody blames you something, and it straight away makes your ego to soften and to be tamed, when you're able to witness the bodhisattva conduct that you need to train, and you need to train according to the likes, need of the very needy sentient beings. Yes. Why are bodhisattvas immeasurable? Because sentient beings' needs are immeasurable. There's so many people who need help, and so when you are having to help somebody who needs your kindness or generosity or tolerance or whatever, then we have to now try to measure, how to tailor that there and then. And you don't idealize. No, I don't waste my patience with you, this kind of person. I believe in patience, but not wasting on people like you, type of thing. See, that's Shantideva is asking people to pay attention to what kinds of bodhisattvas conduct we must implement as warranted by number of situations. It might be your mother, it might be someone really difficult in your life. The very person who's difficult to you is the benefactor of your true practice. Some people think benefactors are people who give you money and things like that. That's the kind of very conventional way of calling benefactor. But bodhisattvas don't call benefactors who give them money and respect. Bodhisattvas call the benefactors those who press your own button. Those who press your button are the benefactors. Are the real benefactors. You don't, benefactors are not those who give you money. Benefactors those who rob your money, for a bodhisattva. If you get robbed, that will really teach you whether whether you have the bodhisattva's boundless activities. When you get robbed by someone in a train or in a street or even at home, things like that, at that time, if you see the person who robbed you as more of a cause for you to practice non-attachment and forgiveness and tolerance and letting go, if you do that, you see, they become the benefactor. How many people want to be that kind of benefactor? Very few. Most people don't want to do that kind of dirty job. So therefore, you have to, when you have the ability to see the boundlessness of bodhisattva training, even when you are inconvenienced, that's excellent opportunity. That's called bodhisattva. It means warrior, spiritual warrior. Spiritual warrior is one who can face the criticism, who can accept the challenges by other people, and then don't retaliate them because other people like that, but see their challenges or confrontation as an excellent opportunity for themselves to contain their own internal unsatisfactoriness. However painful it is, he makes sure that does not turn to suffering. That's what I call it. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Option is because you have the wisdom. If you reject it, the pain that you deny, we call denial. If you deny pain, it's not tolerance. Tolerance is willingness to accept the pain. Because it's an ability to tolerate the hardships, tolerate the pain. Then it becomes a great virtue of patience. The Bodhisattva's virtue of patience it's his fitness to transform the challenges and aggression by others, and does not become a cause of aggression, but he turns it into a cause of what he call enlightenment, cause of tolerance. So the aggression of other is not inherently existing cause of misery to you. Why? Bodhisattvas have got the alchemy. Bodhisattva got the method. Bodhisattva got Buddha Dharma. He is completely fueled by the wisdom of the Dharma, that one who press their button is the actual cause of their growth. Now, people most of the time people don't have such fitness. Why they don't have the merit to think like that? Because they lack merit, and then they react childishly, and then they speak harshly about the other person or behind their back, and they are very negative. The negative means they're negating the other. Positive is they're positing. There's something good even in this difficult situation. Trying to bring the best of you in worst situation is Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva don't seek plain sailing. Bodhisattva expect the unexpected bumpy ride. And that's why they are courageous. That's why they are armed with inner weapon. The inner weapon, which is the wisdom, which is the sword of wisdom. Manjushri's sword of wisdom is never to hit on anybody. But sword of wisdom is discerning wisdom. So the Bodhisattvas are well armed. Their sword is the wisdom. Okay? Sword is the wisdom. And the Vajra is understanding the mind. Okay, Vajra is not some thunderbolt you try to hurl at other people. Vajrapani has never hurled his Vajra on other people. Nor does Manjushri go and stab other people. No, the sword is to stab your ego. The thunderbolt is to hold your mind under your own grip. So that's the Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva have this kind of training, how to train the unruliness in you. That's the Bodhisattva. That's why it's holding sword, holding a thunderbolt. Vajrapani is so fierce, very blue and very dark and covered in snakes. Why? Its symbol is that you got to have the fierce compassion to yourself, how to conquer the demon within you, the ego, the demon, the selfishness. If the Bodhisattva is the one who conquered the demon within themselves, is not trying to complain somebody and then you escape from them and then you think they are the bad and you are too good to be part of them. That's not Bodhisattva. That's escapist. That's an escapist. One who escapes, is always, they run away. They run. Bodhisattva is not fleeing from the problem, nor fighting with the object of the problem, but he wanted to become free of enmity. That's the three different options. 3 F's. One is fleeing, one is fighting, other is freedom. So, fighting and fleeing, both active verbs, fighting, yeah. Some people are they call fighters. They really fight, they always put the stiff opponent to other people. That's fighters. They are mutual distraction. Fighting is mutual distraction. All wars is fighting. Nobody have won in fighting. It has defeated both. It's reduced both to nothing. So fighting destroys both. Fleeing evades and escapes from the problem solving, but takes the problem wherever he goes. So escapers are always taking the problem of anger and enmity with him. So even though he left some job or some work or some people, but he has taken the enmity with him. The enmity has made him to have enemy. He didn't leave anything. He didn't leave anything behind. He left his he took the enmity with him. So wherever he went, he complained about the place or people he left behind, and that's a fleeing. So fighting and fleeing is completely no go area. So dharma is for freedom. So freedom from the root cause of the suffering. Root cause of suffering is enmity and evasion. So you don't evade the real problem. You don't escape from the real problem, which might be your own ego. So therefore, freedom is when you practice tolerance. When you practice tolerance, you're actually getting rid of the enmity and evasion and fleeing. The one who's fleeing is always fleeing. He thought he left some fearful place, but wherever he goes, he meets the same situation repeat itself. Why? He's carrying the burden wherever he go. He never unloaded the mistake of his own. He just made his burden even heavier, and he thought he was fleeing, but where did he go? He may have changed place. He may have changed job. He may have changed country or states where he lives, but he still have the heavy burden of enmity with him. So he is. So did he manage to flee? No. He physically fled, but he carried all the stories and trauma and angst and enmity with him wherever he goes. So have you succeeded to conquer any enemy? No. You actually made your enemy a little bit even more stubborn. So that's why in Buddhism we take refuge. Kyapsudo, we take refuge in the Triple Gem so that we don't flee from our real cause of problem. Real cause of problem is our own egotism, selfishness, enmity, and don't implicate or externalize it to somebody else, and then as if you are escaping from them. You're scapegoating them. And you might even have 10 friends who agree with you how terrible other person is. There are a lot, Because there's so few who are bodhisattvas who really see the thing. There's so few who has actually removed the cataract of the ignorance by the knife of the wisdom and can actually see things. They still have cataract. They can't see. They're all ignorant, yet they're fleeing, as if they're fleeing. They're not fleeing anywhere, they're going in a vicious cycle. So, korwa. Korwa is going round and round and round, is one's own enmity is dangled up with your feet. So that's not Buddhism. Buddhism, His Holiness Dalai Lama says, you have to recognize true origin of sorrow. True origin of sorrow is your own enmity and self-centeredness. The bodhisattva has to be courageous enough to apprehend that as the enemy, not people or place or things as enemy. That's not Buddhism. That is samsara. That is samsara. Samsaric people say that. All your friends who are in samsara, they say, yeah, he's terrible, and makes you feel as you've been badly treated by others, and then you think they're supporting you? No. They're going to make you suffer a long time. They're cursing you to your selfishness, to stay selfish, cursing you to stay ignorant as you're ignorant, because they're trying to massage your ego. That's not help. In Dharma, it's real treatment. It's painful. All treatment are painful, But in that pain, you learn so much of humility and forgiveness and compassion. That is the bodhisattva. That is the bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is one who is willing to face his demon and accept the responsibility, accept the responsibility. When you accept the responsibility, it says Semjong Wai Chopais, with the conduct of one who has trained his mind, If your bodhisattva is one like who has done a lot of push-up, lot of training of the mind, he will have a conduct. He will have a conduct as he have trained the mind. He no longer laments and no longer sort of complains of other people. Why? Because he's done the training of his mind, not to do that, not to waste his time in doing that, but rather to train his mind. You certainly must behave accordingly. Bodhisattva must pay heed to the teachings of Shantideva. Shantideva is a full-fledged bodhisattva, That's no wonder. He's a timeless Buddha. He's a timeless. His name will be like on everybody's lips because he practiced what he wrote. He didn't write these as a dissertation. He didn't write these to get a master's. He didn't write these as a poem competition in a local club. No, he wrote this as his own practice. As it says at the very beginning, he says he has no great composition skills, but he simply wrote this simply to acquaint his own mind how to mind his mind according to the Bodhisattva's way of life. Amazingly modest, but so powerful, and it humbles every one of us, no matter how many things you write or you author or whatever, But Shantideva doesn't say he wrote this to benefit people. I'm the only one who knows everything. I'm the specialist. He doesn't say that. He simply wrote this to benefit like-minded people, to acquaint his own mind how to practice Bodhisattva's way of life. Yeah, means you got to certainly adhere to that conduct of Bodhisattva. Until your mind become fully trained and mastered. Because Bodhisattva's training, there are immeasurable number of Bodhisattvas conduct. Bodhisattva don't say, I have finished my training and like that. Bodhisattva have to do so many things, so many nooks and crooks that you can't avoid. Bodhisattva have to do. And you can't say, I've done this once, that's enough. I've done this 21 times, finish. I've done this 100,000. That's not Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva have to remain until all sentient beings are liberated. So you can't say, I've done my bit, I've done my share, and then say, can people do it? I want to have a break. You don't do that in Bodhisattva, in Mahayana Buddhism. So we really don't say people, some kind of professional position people retire, but bodhisattvas do not retire. They can't do enough in one lifetime. They can't do enough in many lifetimes. They can't do enough in uncountable lifetimes. You can't say, I've done my bit. So miserable, always counting the beans of what you did. That's not bodhisattva. Bodhisattva must forget what you did. Bodhisattva must remember all the sentient beings whose plight one has taken liberty to serve and to benefit, whatever small and minuscule it might be. But Bodhisattva never become complacent that his act of kindness, his act of tolerance is enough. He always see that that is not enough. And always see that room for improvement. Bodhisattva is very, very optimistic. He's not sort of always looking for wow, I finished it, and that kind of thing. Bodhisattva's job is infinite. Infinite is not finite. You don't say, I finished by 8 p.m. If you have to be the last one to lock up the door and stay, you do that. You were meant to be there 4 hours, but you end up having 12 hours, you've got to do that. Why? Because you got to do something that is beneficial. You have got to do something that is actually worthy of having fed yourself or clothed yourself, and therefore doing that. So Bodhisattva's conduct is measured by his or her genuineness, not by approval of other people. People think you are great. The more they say you're great, the more modest you should become. You didn't do anything. What you did is completely small, but it is multitude of the thing you did is all because other people's kindness, other people's selfless contribution. It is true, we are very, very little what we do. We just make a small contribution. It's like making sand mandala. When they make sand mandala, 4 monks or 5 or something, they're merely touching the head in the middle when they start making the mandala. When they finish making the mandala, usually the mandala is made overnight. So I don't know why the monks touring the mandalas take 10, 15 days and so on. Maybe they're doing some culture show. That's quite a different function. But at least they try to teach you how the mandala is made. Mandala is made by these 4 very, very talented people, at least. And when they finish, they all go slowly further and further in the back, and then at the edge of the mandala is finished, and then they do ritual and then sweep away, So that nobody take credit that is my mandala or put a signature of that. Bodhisattva have to completely become anonymous. What they did is anonymous. But for whose sake they're doing is for all sentient beings. The doer is not important, but what needs to be done is very important. Yeah? That's the Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is immeasurable because his range of purpose for whose sake he's doing is infinite number of sentient beings, immeasurable sentient beings. So immeasurable sentient beings are you can't do enough to say I've done enough for all sentient beings because number of sentient beings are immeasurable. Yeah, no matter how diligent you have been, both in the night and the daytime, you should recite the Sutra of 3 heaps. You should recite the Sutra of Three Heaps, you know, at least 3 times. And each time you recite the Sutra of Three Heaps, Pungpo Sumbendo is actually extraction from the Ratnakutta Sutra. So that's why Pungpo Sumbendo, the sutra at the beginning, doesn't start with "thus I have heard," you know, because it is extract from the Ratnakutta Sutra, or you know, maybe I may not be quite accurate there, and a longer sutra anyway. It was extract from longer sutra, and then I think that Tibetans who extracted that have added the refuge, taking refuge in the Guru, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha at the beginning. Otherwise, they call Sutra of Three Heaps. Heaps of paying homage to the 35 Buddhas. A Bodhisattva should always pay homage to the Bodhisattvas. You know, third Sutra of Three Heaps. Heaps of paying homage, what do we call? Then heaps of confession. Heaps of confession, second heap. Third is heaps of rejoicing and dedication. Some people call the rejoicing and dedication as separate 2 heaps, but rejoicing and dedication one, making confession is second, paying homage is the first. So when you do this Sutra of Three Heaps, Bodhisattva do not think that, I had a wonderful day, I've been doing everything today to benefit the sentient beings, now I can put my feet up and sleep. That Bodhisattva don't. You know, well, I used to remember when His Eminence Chogi Trichin Rinpoche, you know, if he ever goes to bed, which he rarely does, you know, and then before he go to bed, he's just next to his bed, he will be doing the Sutra of Three Heaps, you know. This, you know, he's been doing practice all day, he's been helping other people all day, and then yet in the middle of the night, before he is doing confession. You know, what kind of thing he has got to confess? So Bodhisattvas have not just physical and verbal vows, but mental vows. So when I saw His Eminence doing that, you can see it says text like that you should recite the Sutra of Three Heaps. And the things we may have a little bit sort of missed, we forgot or something. So it's very good to do the Sutra of Heaps threes before you go to bed. You know, by relying on we usually do the confession through 4 powers. Yeah, power of reliance. Reliance is the Bodhisattvas, the 35 Buddhas and all the Bodhisattvas as your power of reliance, power of shrine. And in front of them, you know, you actually do confess your transgressions. Transgressions are almost assumed, you know. To think that you have not transgressed anything, and then that you can't tolerate anybody transgress some vows is completely illogical. It's completely too righteous. Everybody has transgressions. If not physical transgression, if not verbal transgression, a lot of attitudinal transgressions. So that's why Bodhisattva should always regard in front of the 35 Buddhas, they should bring of their attention, and then just in case there were some things that we didn't deliberately do, but we somehow absent-mindedly did out of ignorance, out of carelessness, out of disrespectfulness, out of excessive defilements, they call it. You know, you know, if there are 4 causes condition that maybe we were ignorant, we didn't even know we would transgress. It's there plenty of that. So don't ever think that you have no transgression, okay? Good thing about doing the confession is that when you are doing this regularly, you will never be that judgmental and intolerant as you have been in the past, okay? So that is very clear indicator of those people who are so react and couldn't accept anybody's fault is because they don't do these things themselves. They think they're perfect. They think they're ideal. They think they're living by the book and therefore they're so intolerant. But those who are living by the book are even more tolerant. more tolerant, more kind, more forgiving, you know. there was a Sakya abbot, you know, in Varanasi in the early 1970s, I think, and this Khenpo is I don't know whether he's ever marked any papers or not, but in Varanasi, because you have to mark some papers, you know, when the student do something, and this Khenpo never fail anybody. No matter how badly performed, he said Tashi. So they nicknamed him Khenpo Tashi, you know. He always said Tashi, you know, he's so kind, you know. He's so kind because he doesn't want to sort of hurt other people saying they haven't done any well, you know. So they say, oh, you're lucky, Khenpo Tashi is marking your paper, means this. So he's a Khenpo monastery. He's actually one of our Dharma friends, his uncle Tsega Dorje's uncle is the abbot, you know. So he's so kind, you know. He never fails any student because he's so kind, you know. Because because bodhisattvas do not let other people, so, you know, maybe you know, very very difficult markers, you know. I don't think there are that many bodhisattvas who are difficult markers. Bodhisattvas too kind, you know, unless the bodhisattvas manifest his fierce compassion to correct their student to lift their games, but they're so kind and so thoughtful, and if they have any minor transgression, you know, if you have any minor transgressions, it will be purified by doing the Sutra of Three Heaps 3 times. Rangam shen yi wang yerung nega kandu chi ju kyang laba sumar kanyinbe negab telembe de lab. Whether it is for sake of yourself or for others, or even for temporary reasons, whatever is the necessary training there is, you should adhere to the training, and therefore temporarily strive to train in that training for the benefit of yourself and others, because you're setting an example. You're setting an example. People need to witness someone who does that proper thing. A bodhisattva doesn't set an example, who will? And so everybody's waiting for this mysterious bodhisattva, is it? No, everybody has said, I will, you know. You repeat the bodhisattva vow ceremony, you know, you put a nice shirt and take some katas. That's not bodhisattva ceremony. That's just an etiquette of it. Real thing is, subsequently, do you actually do something? A little bit more than yesterday, or a little bit more than maybe you're still upset with somebody, but you try to be polite and try to be forgiving to others. So then you can see you're actually lifting your game a little bit. You're not still holding the same kind of resentful mind towards somebody anymore, because you are appropriately trying to do what is proper for the benefit of others, even because for the sake of benefit of the future relationship. Just acknowledge something. Just forgive yourself and acknowledge your mistakes and ask someone's forgiveness. If you ask someone's forgiveness, I'm sure they will forgive you. There is very few people who, if you ask for their forgiveness, you will. But neither the other one does. You both are not forgiving each other. Both think he's wrong, and neither are taking responsibility. That's how all this problem has been escalated, because this ignorance, the denial. So Bodhisattva should do the Sutra of Three Heaps formally, and then when they see the next day, they will look at the person and the story completely differently. Why? The blessings of the Sutra of Three Heaps, that you call upon the names of the oldest 35 Buddhas, the water god, or whatever all the 35 Buddhas, you call them as a power of shrine, and in front of them you kneel down. You express these concerns, that you really don't want to hold this kind of denial or resentful mind towards the others. If you do that, then that is the Bodhisattva's way of life. So Bodhisattva way of not saying every day immaculate, you are so good, you don't do any mistake. No, Bodhisattva assumes that one may have forgotten out of ignorance, out of carelessness, out of disrespectfulness, out of ego, out of anger, out of jealousy. All of these things can really, really stress you,
People don't realize how many of the stress is caused by this affliction unconsciously. Most of the mistakes are created unconsciously. Give yourself a break and give others a break. Even if you think that somebody made a mistake, somebody did something wrong that affected you, just think that they may not even aware they did that. It's such a blessing to be able to think like that. It will straight away lift the stress in your mind and will see them with kindness and compassion. The alleged wrongdoing of others don't have the same sting to you anymore. Why? Because you don't have this kind of enmity anymore. You have this gentleness, which knows that they didn't even know they were doing it, poor thing, They have no intention. They have stress at work, or maybe they're a little sick, they may be rushing, maybe they're late, maybe they're not feeling good. Yeah. Everything can, in fact, we are so conditioned by many things, So everything is conditioned by this. Poor thing, give them a break, give yourself a break, think like that, and you'll be often correct in thinking like that. Poor thing, So you see, everything is conditioned by that, The xianwang means depend on many things. Everybody is forced by their wind of karma, a difficult night, or difficult work, ill health, death in the family, stress in society, pandemic of the world. All these things can xianwang means other factor. The other factors are conditioning your situation. And it is true. Think like that. You have heard the Dharma. It will hurt your pride, but it will heal your mind because you are able to think like this. Don't ever think that somebody did this to you knowingly, deliberately, but as some very impatient people think, oh, he hurt me, like that. The person has Bodhisattva vows too. Did he really deliberately hurt you? Or he didn't even know he was doing that? So you never know. There are many conditions. So don't assume that you know someone's intention when you hardly can detect your own intention. How do you know somebody intended to hurt you? You yourself can't see your intention of doing any good to yourself. You want to do good, but your intention is lacking. You want to be happy, but you're not even creating intention to be happy. You don't want to be miserable, but you haven't got any intention to restrain that. How can you read someone else's intention saying they did it to you? So, this is exactly what we're talking about. Shantideva is saying that you should be very meticulous, very, very scrupulous in checking your own flaws. And even if you don't see any flaws, just do the confession. It will make you to see your flaws. When you see your flaws, it will not demean you. Seeing your flaw as flaw is a merit. What a waste of effort to see other people's flaw. In Tibetan we have a saying, if you have eyes to see other people, but to see yourself, you have to look in the mirror. So look at yourself in the mirror, and what can you see you? So therefore, Bodhisattva has a great responsibility, not externalize and not becoming always seeing the flaws of other people. You have lost the Bodhisattva vows. We have no right to complain about other people. It's only your perception. It's only your projection. What makes you to think that what you see is correct? When it's so marred and impaired by your own desire, jealousy, craving, and self-importance, all these things are completely hallucinating your mind to see things that are not there. To the sentient beings who are deluded, there's impure perception. We have saying in Tibetan, "Semchen la nyomongbal," the impure perception to the sentient beings are orchestrated by their own afflictions, not by the object. The object is just empty screen. So, knowing this is knowing Dharma. That is Bodhisattva. That is the sword that you've been holding on. That's the kind of thunderbolt that you've been holding to hurl, so that you have your mind in your hand. Vajrapani means Vajra in hand. Vajra is not Vajra. This is substance Vajra. Real Vajra is mind. You have your mind in your hand, and you will not lose the grip of it. And you have the sword of wisdom. Manjusha sword means of discerning mind, of discriminating wisdom you have to watch yourself. That is the bodhisattvas. You don't, this depiction of Manjushri with the sword in the hand, these are just symbol. But main thing is you have to bodhisattva yourself. You have to emulate holding the wisdom, discerning mind, and selfishness. That is the, that which cuts the net of, ignorance, When we do the Kangloma prayer at the beginning of some prayers, when you pray to Manjushri, we ask him to cut the bond of ignorance, which has completely bound us and tied us up so badly. So how do you release yourself from the bondage of self-created karma? The bodhisattva have this responsibility and task and commitment, not only to prevent himself from being marred, but also confess, assuming he would have been often fall prey to his own ignorance, disrespectfulness, carelessness, and excessive defilements and stress and whatnot. And that is really the gist of what Shantideva says, how scrupulously guarding mind, being the ability to guard our mind is such a training, and that is the gist of this chapter. So we have one more lesson to go. That's next week. I will see you next week. Anybody have any questions or comments? I have no idea. If they are, they are. They are not, they are not. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please feel free to share these things, because you wouldn't believe how somebody needs to hear these very thoughts. And how do you discover Shantideva? How do you discover his book? If somebody didn't share you, these days you don't have to give a whole book. These days people just have to see one lesson like this, and then the person. I met a Theravadan monk in Lumbini years ago, and he's actually he's born and bred as a Hindu. But when he went to study in Sri Lanka, as a college or something, somebody gave him a small book. Somebody gave him a small book, and that man said, "Look, I have read this book. I can share you. Now you can have this." And he said that little book changed his life. He read about the Buddha Dharma, the Shakyamuni Buddha, and his teachings of Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path. He said that completely changed. And then he became a Buddhist monk, and he became a very good Buddhist monk. Why? Because small gifts that you share, a booklet or a lesson like this, nowadays you don't even have to give a book. You just share. And then all of your 200 friends will hear it, at least they will see it. And maybe out of 200, maybe 4 of them listen to one lesson. And amazing. And that's why we often pray, may the Dharma flourish, And these days, technologically, we can do that. And that's how everybody is joining here. And all the few people who put this effort to do this, they are sharing their effort. And so there are lots of merit and benefit from doing this. Thank you, everybody. And take care. Now we do the dedication merits, because it's even more meritorious if we share it to other people. Om Bade Mere Me Da De Fa Panza Ga Om Neze Me Ale Bere Da Be From the ocean of Bada De Zeneze Herenda Mahayana na ti whatever merit I have agro me hobe begas and levels to hold the Mahayana teacher courage manju shinyo asama tabadra de life following all the example I should get all the mere Zalem Bodhisattva Tebe Vedanayadaza where has been made angry freely without the generation. Thank you. Stay safe with Bodhicitta.